All right, Jackie, let's bring in Florida Republican Congresswoman Laurel Lee. She is a member of the bipartisan task force investigating the first attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And I would expect you'll include this most recent assassination attempt in your investigation as well. The Wall Street Journal said this in an editorial about the security surrounding the former president. Quote, Donald Trump needs president-level security. A second apparent assassination attempt calls for Biden-level protection for the former president. And we understand that after the first assassination attempt, Joe Biden said to the Secret Service, give him the full package, to which Jared Moskowitz said yesterday, quote, if this is the highest level of protection, we need to see several higher levels. It's inadequate. There's not a single American right now, in my opinion, that has faith in the Secret Service. What are you thinking about all this?
Well, I think that's exactly right, that clearly President Trump needs a much more elevated level of protection. I don't think that he's all the way to the level of protection that Joe Biden has right now. And that's clearly what's warranted in light of the seriousness of these threats against him. One thing that's a common theme, both in Butler, Pennsylvania, and the site we saw in Florida, is the perimeter of the protection. And in both cases, clearly, that perimeter needed to be larger to keep the president safe.
I want to ask you about the rhetoric coming out of the Democratic Party and Peter's question to the president. Does the party need a new line of attack in this campaign? Because as we noted, compared to the last attempted assassination, neither candidate with this one paused the campaigning. It resumed the day after. And yet you do have the Florida Attorney General speaking out today about what kind of cause and effect this kind of campaigning language has had. Let's play that for you real quick.
At worst, this is an administration who has said some terrible things in terms of this president and its safety, and we're seeing the results of that.
And yet Hillary Clinton, just last night, continues it. Listen to this.
We can't go back and give this very dangerous man another chance to do harm to our country and the world.
Your take on that?
Wow. Well, that kind of rhetoric is just appalling. And it's what we've seen levied against President Trump, not just in recent weeks and months, but for years. And it's really time for Democrats to take responsibility. It's one thing to disagree about policies or disagree about their direction for America. But the way that they talk about President Trump and the fact that they would do so even in the hours and the days immediately following an attempt like this is just shocking. They absolutely need to take responsibility for this kind of rhetoric and what it can do in the minds of somebody who maybe isn't mentally well or healthy. Clearly, we need to take this seriously, take the threat seriously, and tone down that rhetoric as we go forward.
So let's go to the bipartisan investigation into the first assassination attempt, because Senator Josh Hawley released what he called a whistleblowers report that finds some pretty eye-opening information, including that the lead agent responsible for the Butler visit failed a key examination during training to become a U.S. Secret Service agent and is known to be a, quote, low-caliber agent. Secret Service intelligence units were absent from the Butler rally, and the hospital site where Trump was taken to receive treatment apparently was poorly secured. It's just that whole day just seems to be an utter and complete breakdown of even the most basic security tenets.
There is no question that that day was a breakdown of their entire operation. The planning, the coordination, the communication on the day of the event, that much is absolutely clear. And so what we have been doing as a bipartisan task force is getting that minute by minute of the days leading up to understand how those failures happened and also how we can prevent them from happening again. Of course, there's been discussion of there not being an adequate number of Secret Service agents that are available in this heightened threat environment. So we're hearing a lot about that. But one question, of course, that we have as a task force is, well, what about the rest of the Department of Homeland Security? Because that is a massive agency. So while we may need more Secret Service agents, it doesn't necessarily follow that we need to put more money on the problem. We may just need to have a better analysis of how to use those resources and how to use the agents and law enforcement personnel that we already have in the federal government.
As I understand it, Senator Hawley has submitted to your committee before other information that he got from whistleblowers. What does it say to you that you're getting information from whistleblowers and not necessarily from the agencies? Are they being as forthcoming as they should be? And to that point, is that why Governor DeSantis is launching a state probe?
So to this point, the Secret Service has been responsive to our request for documents from them, our request for briefings from them, but we have a long way to go. And on the state investigation, it's entirely appropriate that the state would have a parallel investigation of state crimes and that Attorney General Moody would be doing that. That's also happening in Pennsylvania. The state police in Pennsylvania are investigating crimes there. Our job here in Congress is very separate and apart from that. We have a responsibility of oversight of Secret Service investigation of the event in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we also have responsibility to consider funding and resource questions that may flow from all of this.
Hey, real quick, are you surprised we haven't heard from Mayorkas about what happened on Sunday?
Absolutely.
Ooh,
it is a stunning failure that we have not heard from Secretary Mayorkas. This is, at the end of his responsibility, that he has been silent, that he has not come out and vocally called for an increase in resources, that they will do everything conceivable to make sure that we keep the President Trump safe. That's exactly what needs to happen from Secretary Mayorkas.
Congresswoman, thanks for joining us. Good